and it's where they let the animals kind of roam around the property, and of course, they poop and they pee, and
Sure.
And you've got all the ammonia and the nitrogen and everything you need, and then you got the chickens eat the bugs, so you don't need the pesticides, and it's kind of a neat little a community that they build of that's symbiotic and takes care of itself. So really organic.
Sean, there is a difference then between organic, non-organic, and no GMOs, right?
Yeah, and now GMO, you could actually technically have a GMO that's also organic. I don't know, I'm not sure if you can or not, but GMO means that the food was genetically modified. GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. So they take whatever it is, they genetically modify the. For instance, here's one that's really crazy. They actually take the DNA. I can't remember the type of fish, but there's a fish that withstands cold. It can take very extreme cold temperatures, and they actually take the DNA from the fish and embed it into the DNA of the tomato, and that way you can grow tomatoes in really cold temperatures that they won't freeze, and so they can withstand like an overnight frost, and they won't die.
Well, a seedless watermelon would be a GMO, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a GMO or if it's a hybrid. I never actually looked into what seed, because the seedless has been around for quite a while. I remember the first seedless one I cut open, I was like, what are the seeds and what am I going to spit now? It was like, What is that? That was the whole point of eating a watermelon, was to have a seed spitting contest. That's what we did when we were kids. You got juice running all over you, you're sticky as can be, and you're spitting seeds everywhere. And that was what we did before we had video games. But so I don't know if seedless is because there's like a lot of the wheat. I don't think that most wheats nowadays are even GMO, but they are what's called a hybrid. You have the ancient grains, they call them, like Eckert and Einhorn, I think it's called, and Eckert are the two main strains of wheat that have been around for centuries, and they basically hybrid those so that they grow faster and I can't remember. They grow shorter. I think they grow shorter. They don't grow as tall, but they also grow faster, so you can harvest them quicker. And now they're a hybrid.
So do they have more yields then? Where you might have one or two. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the whole point of a lot of these hybrids and these GMOs is to yield more crops in a shorter time. And of course, we sacrifice things like nutrient value. You use chemicals to grow something, and you grow it twice as fast, it doesn't absorb the nutrition. That's why we live in a culture right now where you can for the first time in human history, you can overeat and at the same time be undernourished, because the food is so nutritionally devoid that it doesn't nourish you. You have to eat so much of it to actually get the nutrition that your body needs, that now you're overeating yourself into obesity. And that's the problem with a lot of these GMOs. Not only has our body not developed, we basically have bypassed evolution at this point, that our body hasn't developed to the point where it can digest these foods, but now they're nutritionally deficient. And you know what? We're going to have to finish this discussion tomorrow.
Well, you know what? Why not? So, but I want to leave you with one more question, and that is do you shop at health foods and go to health food stores, or do you shop at Ralph's?
I go to the Whole Foods and stuff, but really I shop at I go to Ralph's and I go to Pavilions. I go to the main grocery stores, but the larger ones, the newer ones, a lot of them have a good selection of organic foods, and they have health foods, and so I can get grass-fed cattle and all kinds of things that I need at the regular grocery store nowadays.
Well, we're going to talk some more to our Sean Lefebvre and his Good for Wellness group tomorrow. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time for another installment of Sean Lefebvre and his Good for Wellness group. Now, I know he's not going to be on at 4 o'clock, but I'm not going to tell you to call in at 4:30, for God's sakes. Anyway, Sean, it's a great show. It's a terrific show, and as usual, more information than we have time.
Yep, we'll get to the point tomorrow, I promise.
All right, buddy. Hey, have a great evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Robert.
All right, bye-bye. Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean Lefebvre and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Setup My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Setup My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training, we are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmycell.com and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:08 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 91 degrees, down from 100 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, it's on its way to 64 degrees. That's going to be a whole lot more comfortable. But you know what? Waiting in the wings, my good friend John Matthews. Let's get him in here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the basement of his strategic planning room located at his political hideaway in Los Angeles County, the dedicated man who stands and serves the political conscience of our nation, Mr. John Matthews. Hey, John, welcome aboard. Good to have you here. I get to talk to you a couple of times a week, sometimes more if I'm having computer problems or software problems or just think I'm having problems. You're the first guy I call, and you're so gracious. You always try to accommodate me. So I want to thank you on the air that way. And I wanted to ask you a question before we really get knee deep into this thing. You know, I don't know about you, and what I'm about to say, John, is going to sound horrible, and I don't mean for it to sound horrible, but I am really sick of hearing about Baltimore. I'm sick about hearing about Missouri. I'm sick of all these things, and I honestly think that the seed of a lot of the trouble is the media supersaturating the airways with all of this stuff, so that these guys have a platform that they want to cause trouble in. It's just driving me crazy.
Well, you have to understand that the media is only as saturated as the people that control it allow. And so a lot of this is actually by design. I think one of the things we've noticed ever since, actually we were talking about this the other night on our show, those of us who experienced the Rodney King riots out here back in the 90s, we've seen all this stuff, and there's a pattern that is taking place, really kind of manifested with Ferguson, and I'm already seeing articles. Some of the real reporters out there in media land are actually reporting on this now, drawing the correlation and relationships between all these events, and they're beginning to find some stark similarities in the way that they're incited, the way the riots are incited, the people involved in them, and this, that, and the other. So this is by design.
Well, don't you sometimes think, John, that and I'm not sure that this is a general rule, and I shouldn't be making a general statement, but I'll tell you what, I halfway believe that a lot of these troubles are instigated by outsiders that come inside that instigate this stuff, and it's the people that live in the community that suffer for it. You know, when we're looking at Baltimore, I mean, can you imagine? It was, like you said, it was like the Watts thing with Rodney King. They're burning down their drug stores and their grocery stores and their hardware stores, and they're looting them, and they're doing all that stuff. And if it were the community, then how do you answer the fact that actually community members came the next morning to help those owners clean up and clear up and do all those things? It almost indicates like, the people that were causing the trouble didn't come from the community.
Well, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. That is standard tactics that are employed by usurpers,
Mm-hmm.
And community organizers are the epitome of that. They always they've always worked under the precept of the concept of locating the target, demonizing it, isolating it, and then approaching it in such a way that it incites the community around it. You got to understand that when most community organizers step into a community with an agenda, the community at that point in time is one way or another reached its, its water level. People have, they live their life, some of them live their life in poverty areas, some with high crime, whatever, but they live their life.
Yeah.
And somebody steps in and starts rocking the boat. Now you have the ignorant, that will get out there, the misinformation voters that will hear just a little bit, and they don't even really vote. I'm just counting that term. But if we just say you get a few people to step into a crowd and say, incite, that's the idea, is to incite through violence, through political activism, whatever method or strategy that's being employed. The idea is to bring to the community's attention that there's something that needs to be changed. Whether that community really agrees with that or not, they'll usually end up going along with it at some point in time. I think what I'm more entertained by is the reaction of the media in terms of particularly the incident of the woman who just slapped her kid around.
I loved it. I don't know about you. I loved it.
Well, the leftists are out there, of course, and people like us say, hey, here was a mom that took charge of her kid and went out there and said, hey, you're not going to do this, you're going to get in trouble by doing this. But then the leftist media steps in, and what do they say? They want to brand this woman as a beater. And here's the thing, John, here's the catch. Here's the catch.
Yeah, go for
it. They want to brand her as a different brand of racism. Because she's beating her own kid. It's not that she's beating her kid. It's that she's beating a black kid. So that's how she's disciplining her own kid. He's a teenager who was told not to go out there, went against her authority as his mother, and yet while she was pounding on that kid, he didn't raise an arm to her. There was a certain respect there. He knew he had done wrong, and I saw him in an interview today. And he says, hey, my mom rules the roost. She's in charge of everything. And the mom says, you know what? You are not going to get involved in that kind of stuff as long as my heart's beating and blood is flowing through my veins. You're never going to be involved in that stuff. I applaud it. And the way you see it perpetrated in the media is, of course, reading just a real Joan Walsh from Salon, which is a real leftist rag. She says anyone white who's applauding Graham's moment of desperation, that's what they're calling this, the mom had a moment of desperation, along with the white media figures who are hyping her heroism, is essentially justifying police brutality and saying that the only way to control black kids is to beat the crap out of them. So that's one aspect of it. You have the other, Stacey Patton over at the Washington Post. Why is America celebrating the beating of a black child?
Well, first of all, she wasn't beating him. I mean, you didn't see any blood, you didn't see any welts. She was smacking him.
She was like my mom. My mom used to do the same thing to me. Yeah. She'd flail about she'd flail about trying to land a punch.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, John, hold that thought. We're going to go on a commercial break. We'll be right back after these brief messages with our own John Matthews and his Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We're going to